Well, I think that video can bring immediacy, transparency, and access in a way that is hard to see in print. So one of the most important things about video is really showing the audience who we're talking to. It's showing the journalists doing their job. And I think that video does that in a way that is extremely powerful. One of the interesting things about covering finance, about covering Wall Street, is of course that aside from the institutions, it's also a character-driven drama. And really one of the things that we want to do is illustrate that aspect of it and get people to understand that these are characters, these are people who are making these decisions that have a profound impact on the economy, that have a profound impact on the country. We have a very broad approach to video. There's a couple of different things that we're trying and models that we're refining. Obviously, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So when it comes to doing a two-person interview, a lot of times I find that a three-camera studio shoot is appropriate to that format. For that reason, we have been using studio facilities at the NASDAQ and also here at the New York Times. Some of the other things that we're doing, I also produce traditional style news packages, complete with voiceovers, stand-ups, various bites, and obviously those take a little bit of time to produce, so it's not always possible to turn those around in one day by myself. But the other thing that we're doing is a series of signature videos called Dealbook Portraits, which are in effect an intimate look at a personality such as a CEO of a major institution, the head of a regulatory agency, in which we try to get them to talk about anecdotes, their experiences, to really get a sense of who that person is. Those are a little more high production quality and take a little time to produce.
How much of the video that you do is sort of produced for the news the market closed or a deal went down or that sort of thing, and how much of it is sort of more evergreen?
I think about that all the time. I mean, it's probably about 50-50, I would say. There are times when, if you look at a story when it simply isn't possible to turn around a quality video tied to the news of the day. And I think that that's a very important distinction to make, is the difference between just putting out a video and putting out a quality video. Obviously, if you're doing a live show, it's easy to get a couple of people in front of the camera and to talk about the news of the day as the market closes, why the market closed. That's not always possible in online video, and I don't think that it's necessarily something that is useful for us to do either. However, that being said, there are certainly times when we are breaking a story that is exclusive to us, when it does make sense for me to get the reporter in front of the camera, to get some kind of video components to illustrate that story and to get that out in conjunction with the story.
What are your thoughts about the role of business video as a piece of media consumed by business people? Do they have time? Do they have interest? And why are they watching when they do?
I think that people do have interest in watching online video. I mean, certainly the numbers, if you look at any of the independent analysts that have taken a look at the way that people are looking online at video, the numbers have been increasing at astounding rates. So clearly people are interested in video. Whether or not finance professionals on Wall Street have time to take during their day to watch, say, an 8-minute documentary about, whatever topic, I very seriously doubt that. One of the key rules that I have had in approaching Dealbook video is keep it short. And I think that that is very important. That's one of the, I guess, instincts that I have retained from a traditional broadcast background, is there's no need sometimes to go into a story, 8-10 minutes into a story. People don't have time for that. And certainly if you're talking about stories that are complementing our print coverage, I don't see why it makes sense to try to completely duplicate the depth of the print story. So really the idea with the video is to use it as a hook through which people can then access the more in-depth print story if they so choose, or if they can get just enough information to understand the story by watching the video. Most of my pieces have averaged between 1.5 to 3 minutes. There are certainly a few that have gone longer, a few that have gone shorter.
And what about the journalists using cameras themselves or portable things? Do you think there's a value in that?
We are working on that. I think that there is a value in that. I think it depends on how it's executed. It's easy to do video. It's very difficult to do good video. I don't know that there's a value in necessarily just getting a reporter out with a flip cam when we're talking about business and finance news. I mean, it's very difficult to illustrate complex financial and business stories with just a stand-up. And I think that using a flip cam, this kind of thing, isn't necessarily the right way to do that. However, it is one of our long-term projects to get all of the journalists on the team schooled in basic video techniques, using either webcams, flip cams, something of that nature, so that eventually what they will be able to do is send me the components that I need to produce a broader story.
William Ackman isn't what you would call a shy investor. Earlier this week, his hedge fund unveiled one of its boldest offers yet, a $960 million proposal to merge Barnes & Noble with its much smaller rival, Reuters.